Okay. There are young families and kids. I'm going to start crying. I hope you cut this out. What we're doing here is really sacred. And
my wife and I and my 3 kids, we've been coming here now for about 3.5 years. So we've got 3 kids, a full house. In fact, last time I was in this room was watching my 1-year-old. Now I'm back, full circle. The thing that attracted our family here was the fact that I would otherwise never be at the same table with these folks. There was such unity amongst the diversity that was really unique and kind of caught our eye and attention. The amount of 60, 70-year-olds at the church that see our kids walking in, and it just brings a memory to their mind and a smile to their face. And my kids experienced that, and my kids love that.
We've been here at Christ Pres since 2009. It's been quite a family-type experience in just a relatively short period of time. One of my memories was watching Dana on the keyboard over here, and the last riff that y'all did, tears were pouring down so strongly on her cheeks we thought she was going to rust the... Yes, she was. We thought she was going to ruin the keys on the keyboard. The joy of seeing them playing for God's glory, bringing glory towards God's name. And that is such a blessing. Dana plays an awful lot of music, but at this particular venue, she's sending everything right straight up to the Lord and trying to encourage everybody in the congregation and elsewhere to follow right with her.
It's just completely filled our life with goodness.
So I do think it's a beautiful thing where there are 3 or 4 generations of this church all worshiping God together, kind of doing life together in some capacity.
I'm Gina. I grew up in Guatemala, came to the United States in 1984. I started going to Christ Presbyterian when my kids were teenagers, young teenagers, so 17 years I've been coming to CPC. My husband didn't like coming to church a lot of times, and so I was able to come to small group. He would let me go to small group. So for many months I wouldn't be able to come to church, but I could go to small group. So small group was my family, and when he left, it was a very traumatic thing, and my small group just came in and they literally helped me through the whole thing, finding a lawyer. I mean, practical things like having enough money to pay the bills. The deacons came in, and my church just filled in the place of family.
I love this. I'm Philip, my husband Stuart. We moved to Tulsa in 1988, and I think we started here in 1989. This church has always had a heart for missions. Whenever we had a heart for ministry, immediately people were just like, how can we help? How can we be a part of it? The whole community is involved in ministry and not just the pastors. This is part of our DNA, I think. When you watch people's lives here in the church, you don't always know what God is doing in their lives. But looking back on 30 years, I can look at people and see how we've seen them through difficult times and how God has carried them through time and time again.
It's interesting because when I was married and I was going through all my troubles, I came to church to receive. I was I guess starving in some ways, and so I didn't have anything to give out to others, and it was because I was in survival mode. But then when the Lord healed my heart and I got strong, then all of a sudden I had a lot of love inside of me to give away to other people, and so Sundays are service time for me, and I love it. So.
What we're doing here is really sacred. And I just really pray that God will bind us together in love, and that He'll grow up kids and families and hold people together. And God is so powerful. And I just pray that we would allow Him to work among us.
I care about this church, and I want people to know the need of the next chapter of this church's life requires, and also because this church has made such an impact on RUF, our ministry, and its faithful giving and generous support of our ministry, but also personally in these students' lives.
I want to look back and see that and be able to say, by God's grace, we were faithful here and we served Him, and we can see, like you said, His faithfulness through the story.
These walls, they've seen celebration, triumph, and reveling voices, God moving in mighty ways. These halls, they've seen children, radiant with the knowledge of Jesus, decades of dedication to their growth, His amazing, steadfast love. This building, it's seen years of harvest, times of plenty, and times of lean, stories of rescue and stories of reviving. The immutable hand of a loving Father. It's seen the best of us. It's seen the worst of us. A diverse, stubborn, compassionate, wayward, beautiful people with a faithful Savior.
Christ Presbyterian has been a beacon of hope to this community for decades, a Christ-centered city on a hill. While our building is not the church, it is a tool to help reach the lost, a place to worship and celebrate our lives, providing refuge for our children and city. As stewards of this legacy, we want to ensure we are continuing to invest in the future of our ministry. Providential calamity, God's timing. It is much bigger than a fire. With the immediate need of restoring our building, we recognize that our sanctuary hasn't seen a major update in 40 years, and this restoration effort has presented an opportunity to match our facilities to our exceptional ministry and mission. Today, we believe it is good stewardship and God's calling to go beyond the restoration of our building. We will make our sanctuary more functional and aesthetically pleasing for visitors. We will make our children's area safer, enhance worship activities, bless our community with a vibrant, beautiful, welcoming facility for generations to come. To not just restore our spaces, but renew and revitalize the place we call home. Together, we plan to raise the funds to revitalize our building and continue the faithful work God has entrusted to us. Over the next several weeks, please prayerfully consider committing to contribute over and above your current giving to help fund the renewal and remodel. We are also committed to serving our city and our world. Trusting God's faithfulness, we are contributing 10% of the committed increase to mission-focused, Christ-centered organizations that we have been partnering with for years. Christ for Humanity, across the street, and our international missions partners, the Shepherds in Ukraine and the Kunis in Honduras, across the sea. So please pray for God's work in this church and for His continual faithfulness to our people. Please join us to help restore, renew, and revitalize.